Welcome to Stoked, the podcast that helps adventure elopement photographers hit six figures and beyond in their businesses without hustling on social media. I'm your host, Megan McPhail, a former burnt-out emergency veterinarian that quit my hard-earned career to become an elopement photographer. Now I'm living a life I absolutely love, full of travel, adventure, and financial abundance, and I am hell-bent on helping you do the same. Are you ready to start booking out your calendar with dream couples in breathtaking locations and feeling genuinely stoked about your elopement photography business, life, and bank account? Then let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's your host, Megan McPhail, and today I have a very special guest. Her name is Brittany Durham. She is a Utah elopement photographer, but she's also a support coach inside the Elopement Photographer Mastermind. She does a lot of our Google Ads strategy and helps the members inside the Elopement Photographer Mastermind grow their businesses. And she is such a great support coach because she went through the mastermind herself a few years ago. And this conversation that we are going to have today is an important one because it doesn't deal with all the business strategy stuff. We're not even really going to talk about Google Ads, and that's kind of her zone of genius. Today, we're really going to talk about mindset shifts and limiting beliefs. So welcome to the podcast, Brittany.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so stoked that you're here. So I want to start by talking about that. You kind of had a rough time when you were first starting your business, right?
Yeah, when I first started diving into elopements and working with you in 2022, that was arguably the hardest year of my life. I started out that year pretty early into the year. My best friend lost her baby, and then my stepmom was diagnosed with cancer. And for those that don't know me, my stepmom's been in my life since I was 3. She's been the mother in my life that I didn't have. And my cousin passed away from a motorcycle accident that year. And I went through a hard breakup and I lost my dog that was my soul dog. So it was a really hard year when I was trying to start out. Sorry.
No, I mean, please cry. I'm about to as well. I mean, that's awful. And I remember that time for you and how hard it was. And, and on top of it, you're trying to build your business while grieving over and over and over again. And it was awful.
Yeah.
So how did you make it through those times?
I allowed myself to take a break from things. You allowed me to take a break from the course, which I was super grateful for, and just gave myself that time to grieve. But after a while, I decided that it was time to start back up and continue on the journey that I had already started, and just decided that it was okay to pause, but I at some point needed to continue on.
Yeah. And I feel like during this time, you wanted to quit. And I think everybody listening can relate to that. I mean, there have definitely been times where I'm like, where are the matches? I'm burning this all to the ground. How did you keep going?
Yeah, I mean, you walked me off of a ledge many times. Honestly, I think if didn't have the support from you and Todd and, the other people that were in the mastermind at that time, I don't know that I would have continued on, even though it's something I'm so passionate about. I think if I didn't have that support that the mastermind brings, I really don't know that I would have continued.
Yeah. Well, that makes me feel really special that we were able to help you through that time and be there for you because you're kind of a one-woman show. You're building all of this by yourself. And this was, like you said, back in 2022, which I can't believe it's already been that long. But yeah, it's hard building a business by yourself.
Yeah. And I live across the country from my family, so I have a few like really good friends here, but I really don't have anyone here besides like, a handful of friends.
Yeah, it's tough. So you're grieving, you're going through some of the hardest things you've probably ever experienced, but you're also dealing with a lot of discomfort with overcoming some limiting beliefs. So what were your biggest limiting beliefs going into building your business? Like, did you think that you're just going to like be able to plug in some strategy and everything was going to work? Or like, how did that whole process go for you?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't have any marketing strategy before working with you. I think, that's pretty much everyone's story is they get into photography and then they're like, oh, there's actually a business side to this. But yeah, I definitely had limiting beliefs around like money for sure. We grew up with not a lot of money, and I think I, developed a mindset of like you have to work really, really hard and always be working. And if one job doesn't pay the bills, you need to have another job. Just that hustle like mentality. And then being here in Utah, and I know that, other markets see this too and other places, but it is very common to see like, oh, I'm looking for a wedding photographer for all day for 800 or less dollars. And
Mhm.
I was like,
400 sometimes.
yeah, or like wanting to trade for something. And so I think I definitely started out with a belief of like, oh, I can't charge what I need to, have this be profitable. It's always going to be kind of like a side thing.
Yeah, and you probably came from a family that was all about like, oh, you have a job and there's job security in that, like you can't just go out and be a photographer, you know?
Yeah, my parents, my dad and my stepmom have been so supportive of this journey, and they've expressed how proud they are. My grandmother still asks me, "So, did you get another job?"
Like you're just unemployed. Yeah. So let's talk about it because we just did a podcast on money. So I think this is great to kind of like pick your brain. So you had the scarcity mindset, you kind of grew up with it and you had to deprogram it. And it's not something that you just are like, all of a sudden I'm just abundant forever, right? You have to kind of like continuously fight against scarcity. So what was that like for you?
For sure. I mean, I still feel it sometimes today. And after reading like You're a Badass at Making Money over and over, that's my new Bible. And yeah, I mean, I still even have it on my board that I'm looking at right now. You used to say all the time, everything is figure outable. And like, today, if I find myself like stressing out about finances or whatever it may be with business, I literally stop myself and I say that out loud. And everything has worked out this far. And like I've never gone without. And so it will continue to be that way. And I think Brittany 3 years ago when she started this, I know Brittany 3 years ago when she started this was like, nope, it's the end of the world. Like, I have to quit this and just go figure something else out.
Mhm. You are smart and you can totally figure it out, and you've shown that over and over and over again that you're gonna make it work, and you're not gonna go homeless and hungry and all the crazy things that we think about when, we don't get as many inquiries as we want one week or something like that. And so you mentioned your dad, and I remember you telling me that you helped him, like, some of the stuff that you learned in the mastermind as far as, like, money and mindset and stuff, you actually helped him with his job. So tell us that story.
Yeah, it was really cool because I saw in this moment, that my dad did see me as an adult and not just his child. But we were talking one day about his job that he had at the time, and he had been there for years and had helped build that place up. And he found out that, the owners were doing some shady stuff, and he was just like, I need to get out. And I don't know what to do. I do have someone that I've worked with in the past that has reached out to me and he wants my help with this startup business that he's doing. But if I'm going to take it, like I'm going to have to ask for about 10,000 more than they're offering. And I want a different schedule. So I'm getting home earlier because at this time, he was the sole person that was helping my stepmom through her chemo. And at the job he was at before, he was not getting home until after 6. He would get up when it was dark, get home when it was dark, couldn't do anything for himself. And he was just going home and eating and helping my stepmom with whatever needed to be helped with. And yeah, just didn't really have a life outside of work. And he was like, I want to ask to be off by like 3. And I was like, okay. So are you going to do that? And he was like, they're not going to like accept 10,000 more. And I was like, well, you don't know. Like, just ask. You'll never know if you don't ask. What's the worst that they can say is no. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've already come to that conclusion. But what if they say yes? Like, that's the best case scenario. And, he's like, "Yeah, you're right." And then I think it was only a couple of days later, he, like, called me and he was, like, super excited, and he was like, "They said yes." And I definitely, like, saw in that moment how my mindset had, like, shifted, and it was just really cool to be able to have that conversation and encourage him to keep doing that because he's the most important person in my life. Like, I want him to have success in whatever he does too, so, yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't ask, the answer's always no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome that you were able to kind of, like, walk him through that when his mind was trying to talk himself out of wanting those things. because he didn't think that he deserved them. And then here you are like, yes, absolutely do that. And then he got it, which is amazing.
That's so common though for us to just doubt ourselves. Like we've never gone through this like actively saying, nope, we're not going to accept that.
Yeah. And we should talk about that doubt and like that feeling that maybe you're not good enough, because I know that's another mindset shift or limiting belief that you had to overcome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even down to recording this with you, you've asked me in the past a couple of times, and I said no because I didn't feel like I was in a spot to be like giving advice or anything like that. And sometimes I still feel like that, but I finally thought of something that I was like, no, I actually do have a lot to say about this. Yeah, like
Yeah.
with my elopement photography business, and I know that all photographers struggle with this, the game of comparison, seeing other
Mhm.
people's work that is beautiful or, seeing other businesses that are succeeding, but you know that your work's better or whatever it may be, and you're not like where they're at. And constantly like comparing. And I've just had to step out of that and like take a break from social media sometimes. What has helped me is like, okay, well, what is so and so doing really well that you know of? And maybe, I've had conversations with these people and like we've talked about this. And what do you need to get there? It's at this point, I'm always like reflecting because it's like I have so many resources between you and Todd and other members of the mastermind. Like, there's no reason to not succeed. So it's definitely been a self reflection of like, okay, well, what are you not doing? And I don't say that in a way that's like putting blame on me or anything, but it's definitely like it's a me thing at this point. I almost let my business burn to the ground last year because of I'm a man, but I took this winter and really like did some self-reflection on what I could do to make my business better. And I went back through some of the stuff in the mastermind, some of the stuff with like Maddie May. I've gone through like just everything that I have like in my hands already to like troubleshoot. And after spending quite a few months doing that and getting back on the wagon with everything, I have seen a lot of success in the last couple of months with my elopement business and with Google Ads. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, you're like the Google Ads master now. And honestly, I know sometimes you use these like down periods in your business and your life to be like, oh no, I'm not the person to be teaching somebody or whatever. But like you are the person to be teaching, because nobody has just like an upward trajectory in their business forever. It ebbs and flows, it's a roller coaster. And being able to get over those low points is like exactly the kind of person who should be helping others, because everyone has low points. Nobody just is, maybe on Instagram they look like they are just killing it, but then behind the scenes I'm talking them off the ledge, So they just don't publicize that. So we're all comparing our entire life to someone's highlights. And if you're a business owner who has been through some shit and gone out the other side and has seen it as a reason to reflect on their business and get back in the saddle and all that, like that's really powerful. And like that's exactly the type of mentor that you want, and why you're so great being a support coach in the mastermind, because like you've been through it, you know? And I've been through it too, which is how I can talk people off the ledge, because I'm like, look, I've been there. I've had all kinds of crazy stuff happen, car accidents, divorces, all kinds of stuff. It's like I can relate, but then I can show someone, okay, but you're going to get through this, and it's going to be your phoenix rising from the ashes story. And every cool person has to have one of those. You don't have an amazing life without your phoenix rising from the ashes story. So, yeah. So, what do you tell yourself now when like the negative self talk starts creeping in? Maybe it's not comparison necessarily, but maybe it's like, a really cool couple didn't book you or something like that. Like, how do you convince yourself that you're good enough to be a support coach and an awesome business owner?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's just like at this point, I don't really let a lot of that bother me. And I have in the past for sure, like when someone went and booked me and I take it personally. And I've learned to not take it personally anymore. But I did have a couple recently that didn't book me. And I asked them, I was like, I sent a follow up email, like, because she kept saying, like, you're so great. Thank you so much for everything. And I was like, can I ask why you didn't book me? Just so I can know like what I can do better. And she said that another photographer talked extensively about taking photos at night under the stars. And they didn't even know that that was an option and that they really like loved that idea. And that's why they decided to go with that person. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's so cool. Like, that's going to be such a great part of your day. But I didn't take it personally. I was just like, oh, you need to work on your sales call script. And then I like went back through, your stuff of how to do my sales calls better. And, I also read something recently that was talking about how this person he was talking about how he, shows up to his sales meetings or whatever as himself, not like, some stuffy business person in a suit and everything. And I recently in the last couple of months, I've really started to just come as myself and, I'm talking to these potential clients as my friends and, just having conversations with them, getting to know them. And it's not even really a sales call. It's just us getting to know each other, me talking about how their day could go, and like both of us getting really excited. And I've seen more people booking from that. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I love, though, that you recognized a part of your sales funnel that could be improved, and you went and improved it, and you're seeing the results, and, like, that's amazing. That's exactly what a great business owner does, you know?
Yeah, I think that like business owners in general can sometimes get into this bad habit of like, okay, this works. We're just gonna do that forever. And I mean, things change. I
Mhm.
see that, changes are happening all the time with Google Ads. And our business is constantly evolving and the market's constantly changing. And I have just learned that like we have to constantly be open to like what can make us better, what can make our business better, and not being so like hard set on one thing.
Yeah, and being able to, like, recognize when something needs troubleshooting and then doing it instead of your brain being like, "Oh, it's because of your prices," or, "Oh, it's because of the economy," or, "Oh, it's because of market saturation," or something. Like, our brains wanna make excuses for stuff, but if you know how to, like, figure it out and pivot instead of making excuses like you said before that I say everything is figure outable, like you can fix it, if you go into it with the right mindset, which is so crucial. So tell me about what you want the podcast listeners to really like gain as far as, mindset.
Yeah. I think like the most important thing is to, bet on yourself and not give up on yourself if this is something that, or whatever you may be doing. I know most of your listeners are probably elopement photographers, but whatever it may be, like if it's something you're super passionate in, don't give up on it. I have multiple times had to go back and say like, okay, what needs to be better? Because like our business is it's all a machine and there's different parts of this machine that all need to be well oiled in order for it to work. And you sometimes have to go back and find where the holes are and what's not working. But yeah, just if not giving up on yourself and taking a chance on yourself means getting that education that you need, do it. I mean, I did not have the money at the time when I first started working with you. And I know that that's the story of most people that, when they first start out in the mastermind, but you figure it out. And I think the biggest thing for me, for my business to finally start seeing the results that I wanted this whole time is just that mindset shift. And I've really appreciated that, you don't really even start off the mastermind with business stuff. You start off with mindset stuff. And I truly believe it's so important to get your mindset in a better place. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, but like I don't think it ever will be.
Yeah.
But getting like your mindset right about yourself and, believing in yourself and being confident in what you can produce and like who you are and like that people are working with you because they want to work with you because there's a million photographers. And then getting your mindset right around money. I mean, we already talked about that, but there's so much that goes into our mindset about money and how much we should be making and feeling bad for making a certain amount, or that because our market is just so saturated that we can't charge that. And that's absolutely not true. And I've seen that here in Utah. Like I see it literally all the time. And it's just not true. And I think once you can get those mindset shifts more in line with just your life, you just start seeing more things come together.
Yeah. I feel like the thing with the mastermind and with building an elopement photography business is like we talk so much about the strategies and stuff, but it really truly is the mindset issues that people have, the limiting beliefs that they have that hold them back from implementing the strategies. And yeah, it's comparison, it's self doubt, it's the negative self talk, it's the scarcity. All of that will keep people from getting the work done. So much of the mastermind is really helping people recognize that in themselves and get past it. And some people, it's more of a struggle than others, but like it's always worth it. It's always worth it to shift these beliefs that you have because they're just stories that we tell ourselves. And then not only does it help you create your business, but then it helps you in your personal life and your family and your friends and stuff like that. Because so many people are living with these scarcity mindsets and yeah, they talk themselves out of pursuing their dreams and that this isn't possible for them or that isn't possible for them. And sometimes it just takes, one person to break you out of that and start helping you practice rewiring your brain essentially.
Yeah, I've seen that for sure. And my friend Tiffany, she's actually come on to do like all inclusive elopements with me this year. It's kind of a shift that I've made with my business and have seen some good results with. And that's been really cool. Yeah, working with her, her prices before were very standard for Utah with hair and makeup. That's what her genius is hair and makeup. But I sat down and did the cost of doing business calculator with her. And we realized that she was very much like charging way below what she needed to be able to make ends meet. And in doing these packages, like I'm making sure that she's getting paid what she needs to get paid. And I even asked her, gosh, we booked our first one like 2 months ago. And I asked her recently though, like, hey, how's it feel to like get paid what you actually should be paid for once? And she was like, it's awesome. Like it feels great. And yeah, it's been cool to also see her shift in like her mindset and her attitude towards herself and her confidence to like do what she's really good at. She's so good at what she does. Even when we had a little bit of a falling out last year, and she was still the person I recommended everyone to work with because she's just that good. But yeah, it's been cool to, see that what I've learned from, mindset shifts and stuff like that between you and therapy just overflow into my personal life with my family and my friends.
It's amazing. I love that. And I love hearing these kinds of stories because this is really like what I live for too. Like it's great when people are like, "Oh, I'm booking this and I'm booking that and I hit this number and stuff like that." Those are so easy to share too, but like this is really the foundation of everything is the positive shifts that you experience that allows your business to flourish and allows your personal life to thrive and helps those around you. Like, this is what I live for. So I'm so proud of you. Where can people learn more about you and your elopement photography? And you should also plug your Google ads.
Yeah. So I'm on social media, Instagram, Mountain Made Photography. It's Mountain Made underscore photography, and it's MADE. And then if you are interested in any of the Google Ads stuff that I'm doing, you can go to my website, mountainmadephotography.com/Google dash ads. Find out more there.
Yeah, Brittany is awesome. She helps manage people's Google ads and she helps us do Google ad stuff in the Elopement Photographer Mastermind and in Adventures in Google Ads. She's just awesome. She's one of the people that's been running ads forever. And I feel like, you can just swoop in and like see what's wrong with someone's ad and fix it. So thank you so much, Brittany, for being on the podcast and sharing some vulnerable stuff. I know people listening can relate to all of this stuff. And on the other side of those limiting beliefs is something really cool and powerful. So Brittany is proof of that. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of Stoked. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend. If you're looking for more inspiring elopement photography content, check us out on Instagram at Megan McPhail. And if you'd like to hear more about my business coaching and how I can personally help you hit six figures as an elopement photographer, then check out my website at www.meganmcphail.com.